My name is Dr. P.C. Patel, Professor and Chief Soil Health Specialist on Agriculture University and Parva University and Mati Akromat Private University, Anand, Gujarat. So today, the topic of my YouTube is why foliar fertilization it is superior in agriculture crop. So it is productive approach that plants sense fertilizer applied to leaves ensure that nutrients are absorbed more quickly than with soil fertilizer. It aids in balancing plant nutrition when the plant roots are underperforming due to outside factor like infection or compacted soil. So when there is a problem in the root system, then we can apply the foliar fertilization to the plants. Then mechanism of foliar fertilization. In order for a foliar fertilization nutrient to be utilized by the plant for growth, it must first gain entry into the leaf prior to entering the cytoplasm of cell in the leaf. To achieve this, nutrient must effectively penetrate the outer cuticle and the wall of the underlying epidermal cell. Of all the components of the pathway of foliar applied nutrients, the cuticle offers the greatest resistance. So the efficiency of foliar fertilizer can be increased to type of fertilizer depend upon type of fertilizer, concentration of pH of the solution, the use of adjuvants and compatible with other agrochemicals. So the efficiency depend upon the 4 factors. Then foliar feeding is generally done in the early morning or late evening, preferably at temperature below 24 degrees Celsius, since heat causes the pores on some species leaf to close. So why it is required to early morning? Because at that time the stomata are open. Then precaution, you should also make sure that the leaves do not stay while you spraying for long, as this can sometimes encourage taste and fungi. So water should not be kept leaves, otherwise there is a problem of the fungi. During the summer, you should be cautious when making a foliar application. The label will tell you what temperature to avoid. Taste your leaves become scorch. Then advantage of foliar fertilization. Foliar fertilization is a technique of feeding plant by applying liquid fertilizer directly to the leaves. Absorption takes place through their stomata and also through their epidermis. So the liquid fertilizer has been absorbed through the stomata and through epidermis. No tie-up, faster uptake, more effective, and no leaching. Whereas in soil application, there is a chances of leaching of the fertilizers. Plant metabolism, stimulating photosynthesis, they can be applied during morning. So we can apply the foliar fertilizers during the morning period. Then disadvantages of foliar fertilizer, it can be expensive method of fertilizing your plant in the long term. You will have to apply more fertilizer frequently if you want to boost yield. If you do not apply the fertilizer appropriately, you might end up damaging the plant. So we have to apply appropriately, and choice of the fertilizer is very important. There are times when you concentrate so much on one part that it ends up burn up. So when there is a concentration more of the foliar fertilizer, there is a chances of the burn of the leaves. If you apply them during the day, especially when it is hot, then it is likely that it won't be absorbed into the plant. So when you are apply the foliar fertilizer during the hot period, then it will not absorb by the plant. Then foliar nutrition potential and challenges under multifaceted agriculture. So foliar fertilizer component complements soil-derived mineral nutrition even under unfavorable environment condition and fulfill plant nutrition requirement and critical growth stage. It can be helpful to close the yield gaps and ensure socio-economic sustainability by mitigating soil nutritional constraint. Foliar applied fertilizers show higher crop plant yield and quality rate by 15 to 19% and 9 to 20% respectively under different environment stresses. So through foliar application, we can increase the yield 15 to 20, 19% and quality of the produce 9 to 29%. Then foliar application of micronutrient cotton. So foliar feeding with plant nutrient give quick benefit and economic nutrient element as compared to soil application. Foliar feeding is often effective when roots are unable to absorb sufficient nutrient from the soil due to high degree of fixation losses from leaching, low soil temperature, and lack of soil moisture. It was beneficial practice for enhanced cotton production. So that experiment has been conducted at the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, Coimbatore. Then foliar feeding revisited. So when applied as a foliar fertilizers, element with strong positive charge such as calcium do not move much upon entering the leaf. Accordingly, elements such as phosphorus, which are negatively charged, are slow to enter the leaf. Both are relatively immobile after gaining entry. Foliar feeding can be helpful in managing the nutritional well-being of crop, especially when it comes to correcting micronutrient deficiency. Then foliar application of nitrogen can benefit most vegetable if the plant is low in nitrogen and ammonium sulfate. So you can apply the nitrogen through urea and ammonium sulfate. It is very effective. Then foliar potassium is used on fruiting vegetables such as tomatoes and melons. Best sources are potassium sulfate or potassium nitrate. So for calcium is often recommended, but because it moves very little, it must be applied at proper grades to be effective. Best source for foliar calcium are calcium nitrate, calcium chloride, and some chelate calcium product. Then iron manganese or zinc best applied as a foliar, while those metal micronutrient mobile foliar application are very effective at correcting local deficiency in leaves. The other micronutrient that can be effective as foliar application is boron. Boron is boric acid, borate, and soluble. Form is often recommended. Boron is very toxic to plant. If applied in excess, so apply at correct rate is critical. So foliar feeding is a technique feeding plant by applying fertilizer direct to the leaves. Plants are able to absorb essential element through their leaves. The absorption takes place through their stomata and also through their epidermis. It is the application of fertilizer to foliage of the crop as spray solution is known as foliar spray. So foliar method is suitable for application of small quantities, especially micronutrients. The nutrient can also be applied by when there is no adequate moisture in top layer soil. So when there is a low moisture in soil, then we cannot apply the fertilizer in soil, but through foliar application we can apply it. So moisture is not required in soil. Foliar method is suitable for application of small quantities of fertilizer, especially micronutrients. Nutrient cannot be applied by this method when there is no adequate moisture to top layer of soil. However, foliar apply proven to be an excellent supply plant required for secondary nutrient calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and micronutrient zinc, manganese, iron, copper, boron, and molybdenum. The foliar application has been shown to avoid the problem of bleaching out in soil and prompts a quick reaction in the plant. It helps in reducing water and air pollution. So it is better for the environment. So if you are liking my YouTube, then subscribe to my channel. So my YouTube link at www.youtube.com/PATEL23. Thank you very much. If you have any problem related to foliar application, then please ask me.